Penn State is one of several realistic conference contenders that will be replacing their quarterback this season. And as is especially the case with Georgia, Ohio State, Alabama, and TCU, some of these teams will be replacing quarterbacks that have been the face of the program for the last 2 seasons and were highly successful in terms of winning. Of the new quarterbacks for teams that are realistic contenders for their respective conference, who do you think is under the most pressure to succeed in 2023? So I've got
there's a long list of them.
So I went through our friend Bill Connolly, huge fan of the show and frequent guest here. His top 25 in the SP Plus ratings for 2023. I've got 12 and a half new teams with new starting quarterbacks. Half of this top 25 will be breaking in new starters. Georgia, Ohio State, Alabama, Penn State, Tennessee, Clemson, Notre Dame. Ole Miss question mark. That's my half because Jackson Dart is still there, but we also have Spencer Sanders and Walker Howard coming in there. TCU, Florida, UCLA, Kentucky, Wisconsin. So 13 schools right there that could be having new starting quarterbacks that are all about top 20, top 25, top 30-ish. So who stands out as a quarterback that's under the most pressure?
I mean, I feel like there's a lot of good options, but it's got to be the Alabama or Ohio State quarterback. Like, because even at Georgia, like, there's pressure having won 2 national titles in a row, and you're replacing the quarterback who was the QB for both of those national titles. But the quarterback position might not be the most important position on Georgia based on what we've seen the last year. So it's like, it's kind of a complimentary piece more than it is the guy who drives the car. So I would say whether it's like Kyle McCord at Ohio State, whoever it's Jalen Milroe, whoever wins the Alabama job, I would say the pressure's on them because you're expected to win the national title every year at those schools, or at least you're looked at as a team that can, but it's been a while since you have. Like Alabama didn't even win the SEC last year, win its division, which is the first time that's happened since 2019. So there's already a ton of pressure on Alabama for that. So now you've got to be the guy who might be replacing the #1 pick in the draft. And by the way, you've got to win your division, and then you've got to beat the 2-time national champion, and you've got to go to the college football playoff and then win that too.
I'll say love those. That's the exact position I was in too. We had just come off a national championship. Charlie Ward had just, won the Heisman Trophy. I was like, all right, this is your team now. It's like, oh, great.
Go get them.
Yeah, exactly. And it is tough. It is like a tough place to be in. I had Cade Klubnik as one of mine because you got the offensive coordinator. Like there's not going to, because I think even like Clemson fans, they didn't love DJ, but he was still a 5-star, and there was still a lot of stress and criticism of the offense in general, nationally too, from guys like us. But now that you got the best offensive coordinator hire in the country, and you're the guy, and you played really good against North Carolina, not so great in the bowl game, but their expectation is going to be, we're right back. We're back, baby. That's Clemson's expectation is our offense is back. We want to see the play that we saw from Trevor Lawrence, Deshaun Watson, Taj Boyd, that's the expectation.
Cade Klubnik was the one that stood out the most to me as well. Let me also add that there's not a great second option. The rest of that quarterback room is Paul Tyson, a.k.a. Bear Bryant's
the fourth
grandson,
whatever.
great grandson. If Paul Tyson comes in the game, things aren't going well. Chris Vezina, a 4-star quarterback, is a true freshman. You don't want to throw him out into that situation. I mean, this is a lot that is being put at the feet of Cade Klubnik for a resurgent Clemson offense. And I think that he showed us highs, but he also showed us lows. I mean, remember when DJ got benched and then Cade came in and got real erratic and threw an interception in a really, really bad spot? Like there's a wide variance in terms of the tape of what we've seen. I think Cade Klubnik with Garrett Riley is going to be really successful. From the pressure discussion, I think that one really stands out in a big way. I want to add one more. This might maybe more of a question because I'm with you. Georgia, there are great options in that room, and there is a proven track record of that team being so good everywhere else. It sets up the quarterback to be successful. I honestly could say the same thing about Ohio State. considering you still have Emeka Buka and Marvin Harrison Jr. You still got a really, really good running back room. You've got some offensive line players to replace that were really special, but it's very much in a position where you should be able to take this and take it home. Drew Allar is under an immense amount of pressure, as Tom asked in the question, because he is being looked at in a major way. But is there pressure on Sam Hartman? I know our loyal Notre Dame listeners, Sam Hartman going into Notre Dame sort of looked at as this prize transfer portal get. I think there's some pressure on him to be able to at least replicate some of the success that he had at Wake Forest.
For sure. But I think, like, I don't know if I don't really consider Sam Hartman for this question because he's a returning starter. He's just starting for a different school. But it's a different kind of pressure too, because I don't know if, oh God, I'm going to get hate for this one. I don't consider Notre Dame a title contender. I consider Notre Dame a playoff contender. I don't think Notre Dame's going to win a national title this year. I think for Sam Hartman, he's going to Notre Dame to prove to people that he's not just a product of Wake Forest offense. So I think there's pressure on him for sure, but I think it's a different kind of pressure to the guys that Alabama, Ohio State, Clemson are going to be facing.
Fair.
Short round put in there. What about Arch Manning when he's named QB1 after week 1? Colt McCoy was at the Super Bowl on Radio Row. And we actually did a whole 2-hour show with him. Like, he filled in the whole time. So we were talking to him. And he, like, assisted the Mannings, like, in the recruitment process, was like a confidant of theirs. He was like, because I was under the impression, you guys tell me, that Arch Manning was kind of okay with backing up Quinn Ewers for a year. And then, he'd ease his way in. Colt McCoy was like, I think he's going to start.
Oh, yes.
I mean,
yes.
He was like, I think he's going to start. Like, he's going to pressure him and he's going to start. But if he does start, I don't think there's a lot of pressure on him. Of course there's pressure on him because he's Manning, because it's Texas. But if you're him, you're a freshman, you're going to get some leeway to have that 3-interception game where, he's young. But, man, did you see that one throw? Like, I think you get some of that off you.
Yes,
pressure's on Quinn Ewers.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say.
I was going to have him, but we said new starter, so I want to make sure.
And we also said national title contenders.
No, he said the question was conference title contender. Texas can contend for a conference title.
Yes, they can.
Come on.
Okay, then that eliminates another one. But
they can theoretically, but they really haven't a whole lot lately.
Yeah, despite having the power rating that is 7th best team in the country, something just can't seem to work out.